DrugsLab is a channel that claims they are educating people how to use drugs. These are very sensitive, potentially potent, harmful substances safely. When you're explaining, say, the dosage information of a drug, if you mess up, sometimes a difference of 1 or 2 milligrams when explaining a dose for some of the very potent substances, that mess up can be the difference from someone overdosing, from someone dying, or from someone having a good experience. This is very sensitive data that they are sharing, and considering it's in relation to people's lives, the utmost of care should be taken to ensure everything is sound, everything is accurate and not harmful. And the reality of the situation is many of the errors that they have made and continue to make are things that are so simple you can find it in a 5-second Google search. I am making this video not to shit talk or put them down, even though it may seem like that at times. I am making this video so that hopefully the producers of DrugsLab see this, realize all of the very easy to fix errors they are making, and begin researching the drugs properly before releasing their videos. I'm also making this so that the many people who have watched DrugsLab can see firsthand the plethora of errors, dangerous errors, that they have made in the name of harm reduction and drug education, so that they can realize you cannot depend on this show as your only source of education. You could get very hurt. To be honest, I didn't want to make this video, even in light of many people suggesting I make this video. I do not take pleasure in attacking others or, kind of like highlighting their flaws or errors. That's just not what I do. And on a personal note, I want to see every single drug harm reduction show on YouTube succeed. What I was personally hoping for was that they would begin to correct their errors. I was hoping they get more popular and realize, hey guys, there are millions of people who are seeing these episodes. Maybe we should take some real care to ensure the information isn't dangerous that we share. That's what I was hoping would happen. Anyway, if some of you watching naively think that I'm making this video just because, I don't know, maybe I'm jealous of the success of DrugsLab and I'm making this to kind of shoot them down as some kind of attack, as if they're like stealing my subscribers or something absolutely stupid that's not true like that, then all you need to do is look at the factual evidence in regards to the types of YouTube channels I promote. I do what no one on YouTube usually ever does. All of the collaborations that I have done up to this point have been with very small YouTube channels. That is because I like helping those who I believe have a powerful message to share and a drive to succeed. I've been blessed and so lucky to have my channel do so well up to this point that I feel like it's my duty to reach a helping hand out and help those who may need it, which is precisely what I'm attempting to do in this video in regards to DrugsLab. I'm not making this video so that, say, no one ever watches their show again, or that you go on some witch hunt and go and attack them. Oh no, on the contrary, I'm making this video because nothing else has worked. I've spent months trying to contact them. I'm making this video because I want to see them succeed. I personally believe, given the size of their team, that they can overcome these hurdles. They can begin offering accurate information. To be honest, their videos have so much potential. They're entertaining, they're fun to watch, the hosts are very likable, and I honestly feel really bad for the hosts here because none of these are their problems. However, I do realize though that making this video, once you guys see some of the obviously ridiculous errors that they have made, it's very possible that there's going to be some backlash from this. And that is actually what I'm hoping for. They're not listening to criticism, they're not replying to anyone who's tried to contact them to, dare I say, tell them that they're not researching their drugs properly. No, they have shown a complete, blatant disregard for the absolute care of their viewers. They've repeatedly failed to perform adequate research on the very drugs they're attempting to educate people on. Some of the information that they have shared has been so dangerous that, in fact, if a drug user were to follow it, it could result in injury or even death. They've basically forced my hand. I have no choice at this point. I have a harm reduction channel. I need to point out when there's someone claiming to be an educator who's offering dangerous information. That goes completely against everything I stand for. That is the opposite of harm reduction. The thing is, it's not within the hosts that lie the problem. The problem is actually with their production team and whoever's editing the videos. It's their job to research the scripts to ensure that everything the hosts say is accurate and safe, and it's the job of whoever is editing or overseeing the editing to ensure that no misinformation makes it into the final cut. Now, I would like to point out that I'm not perfect. We all mess up from time to time. I know that I've made errors, and I will probably continue to make mistakes, and I'll continue to learn from my mistakes. That's just life. However, when I'm wrong, especially if I was wrong in regards to sharing information that could hurt someone, I would publicly admit I was wrong, and I would correct myself to ensure that nobody was harmed via my misinformation. I mean, when a harm reduction show that claims it's funded by the Dutch government begins sharing information that could be potentially dangerous, life-threatening to the very drug users they claim that they're there to protect and to educate, then there's a serious problem that needs to be addressed here, and that shit really just needs to fucking stop. It should be known that prior to considering making this video, I have tried to contact the DrugsLab team as long as, well, 6 or 7 months ago. Now, you might be thinking that perhaps they never saw the email. I mean, they get lots of emails, maybe they missed it. That is not the case. When I contacted them, I was in direct communication with someone from their team discussing the possibility of making a collaboration together. We had emailed each other back and forth, and as soon as I emailed them, addressing some of my very real concerns with, at the time it was their herbal ecstasy video, they just cut all communication with me. I even went as far as to offer my services if they ever needed any help fact-checking their data before they released a video. I said, if you guys want, I will go over your scripts for you and let you know if any of the information is not accurate. So, in my opinion, I tried to help them in the nicest way possible, and regardless, it would appear that I have insulted them. If you guys are curious what my email said that would have resulted in, completely being excommunicated by them, then I will include a copy of the email in the video description. On top of that, though, I've continually posted comments in regards to problematic errors I've found in many of their videos on YouTube. I'm gonna run through a few of the comments that I've posted here. As you would expect, not a single one of my comments was matched with a reply, and often they're one of the top comments on the video I've left the comment on. However, they have finally responded, fancy that, now I'm making this video, but they have finally responded to one of my comments just yesterday. This was a concern that many people on Reddit had shared. In fact, hundreds of people on Reddit believed that this was a major problem. So much so that someone made a post on Reddit which received nearly 2,000 upvotes and sat on the front page of Reddit for a couple days. Don't believe for a second that had this Reddit post not happened and their credibility been taken into question, well, if that didn't happen, they would have most definitely not replied to my message. Unfortunately, their reply was extremely problematic. More on this soon. Anyway, myself and Seth from the Drug Classroom, as well as moderators on Reddit, we have all been trying to contact them for months. We've been trying to let them know that, hey guys, you're sharing some dangerous shit, you need to stop. And we really didn't want it to come to this point where I had to make a video highlighting all of their fuck-ups. And don't get me wrong, it's not just in 1 or 2 videos that they've seriously messed up in. It's actually throughout several. Now, not all errors they make are potentially dangerous. The potentially dangerous ones are thankfully not as common as the factual errors. However, I wanted to point out that they make factual errors often just because this is direct evidence in just how little care they actually have in regards to providing safe, accurate information. It would appear that DrugsLab focus is entertainment first and education second, which I honestly wouldn't even really have that much of a problem with as long as they got their facts straight. And I personally don't think it's too much to ask of a drug education channel that they make sure that their facts are right. In their recent episode on DXM, Bastian consumes dextromethorphan with the additive acetaminophen included in it. High doses of acetaminophen can result in liver failure.
Het is ook helemaal uitgezocht. Nou, er zit paracetamol in, er zitten nog allerlei andere stoffen in.
As little as 4 grams of acetaminophen is considered an overdose, and the average brand of cough syrup, which contains both acetaminophen and DXM, will contain anywhere from 300 milligrams to 1 gram of acetaminophen per serving. And on average, it will only contain about 15 milligrams of DXM per serving. And the average dose, in order to get, adequately high off DXM, is 300 milligrams. If you guys do the math, what this means is you would need about 20 servings of DXM-containing cough syrup in order to reach the state where you are at, the average dose. This means that depending on which brand of cough syrup you have, you'd be ingesting anywhere from 6 grams to 20 grams of acetaminophen alongside your DXM to reach the average dose. You can clearly see where the problem lies here when you remember that 4 grams of acetaminophen is considered an overdose and can result in liver failure. It should be clear to everyone watching that if you want to get high off DXM cough syrup, you need to make absolute certain that the only active ingredient in your cough syrup is DXM. And in this DrugsLab episode, they took DXM with acetaminophen. And they failed to tell the audience that if you were to copy what they did, they failed to tell the viewer that following in their footsteps would result in potential death. I'm sorry, but when you're running a drug education harm reduction channel, you should never showcase someone ingesting a substance with a known dangerous ingredient as an additive. And even if you are, you need to make it very clear that other people need to avoid that additive. In this case, other people should avoid acetaminophen. Absolutely nothing was said about acetaminophen. In fact, if they were a harm reduction channel, what they would do is say that a common additive in DXM cough syrup is acetaminophen. Suffice to say, my frustration is not an exaggeration. You cannot showcase people doing harmful acts claiming it's drug education and believe that you're somehow saving lives or reducing the amount of harm in the drug world. I'm sorry, but that's kind of the opposite. What that is increasing the amount of harm associated with drug use. Anyway, this is the very first time they have ever responded to criticism. So how has DrugsLab responded to this very, very dangerous mistake? Well, instead of taking the video down and announcing to all of their viewers that, hey, we made a mistake, guys. I'm very sorry, but if you followed what Bastien did in this episode, you could kill yourself. Instead of, caring about human safety and doing that, all that they have done is gone into the video and cut the scene out. Now, if you guys don't know this, when a video is still new on YouTube, there's actually a feature that lets you go in and cut out certain scenes, and that's just what they've done. As already stated, that's not enough. They need to state, for everyone who's already seen that, already 100,000 plus people have seen it, they need to tell them of the mistake they have made. DXM cough syrup is found in many stores. You can go into Walmart, corner stores, anywhere and find it. Many people watching that video are going to go out, buy DXM, and potentially hurt themselves. This is no fucking joke. Again, their show is funded by the Dutch government. If a viewer watches this show and sees Bastien consuming DXM with acetaminophen in it, and sees that, he's okay, he doesn't die, they may go to the store, read acetaminophen as an ingredient, and go, hey, that guy from the government-funded show took it, he was fine. I'm gonna be fine too. Anyway, in regards to their response to my comment, the DrugsLab team have told me that they have always known acetaminophen is dangerous. They told me that the scene where Nelly tells the camera that Bastien's DXM contained acetaminophen was a mistake. It was actually never supposed to be in the video. How convenient of a thing to say. Once you receive hundreds of people criticizing you, you claim that, oh yeah, we always knew it was bad. It was just a mistake, wasn't supposed to be there. I mean, not a single person from their entire production team watched the final edit, and may have said to the others, hey guys, Nelly just said that our DXM had acetaminophen in it.
Het is ook helemaal uitgezocht. Nou, er zit paracetamol in, er zitten nog allerlei andere stoffen in.
Maybe, considering we already know that that's dangerous in high doses when mixed with DXM, maybe we should probably just cut that scene out, because it's not even true. Really, guys, I mean really, why was that scene included if you now state that it wasn't even true? I'll tell you exactly why they left that scene in. They left that scene in for the same reason that they've left in more errors that are arguably just as, if not more dangerous than this one, which I will get to shortly. They left that scene in because not a single one of them researched DXM enough to realize that you cannot consume it with acetaminophen. If they in fact did know, they would have made a point, as I already said, of telling the viewer how dangerous APAP is with DXM. You know what, just 1 second, I don't think I can do this anymore. Cocaine often gets cut, like this coke, with levamisol.
Cocaïne wordt vaak, net als deze coke, versneden met levamisol. En dat is een ontwormingsmiddel dat ze ook gebruiken in de diergeneeskunde.
And that's pretty much the end of it. That's all they say about it. They don't even go into detail to explain to the viewer what levamisol is, or why it might be dangerous. Oh no, instead, we see Nelly consuming line after line of this coke.
Alles voor de wetenschap.
Precies.
And then in the episode where Renz does cocaine, he actually mentions what levamisol is, but he says, as long as you're not doing coke too often, it's not gonna really hurt you much.
Het wordt dus wel altijd versneden met bijvoorbeeld levamisol, ook in dit geval. En levamisol is een ontwormingsmiddel. Daar kun je van schrikken dat je denkt, dat zal wel ongezond zijn, maar dat valt wel mee. Behalve als je het heel vaak neemt.
It's just, I can't do it. Just 1 second. I'm sorry guys, It actually is dangerous as a cocaine adulterant. It's been known to be dangerous for many years. Levamisol is a dewormer. It's an anti-parasitic medication that is used on livestock, on pigs and cattle. What it does is it suppresses the immune system in those who are exposed to it. It's also very possible that it interacts with cocaine's stimulant effects. It can cause acute cardiovascular toxicity. What this means is it's very difficult for your heart, and the combination of cocaine, which is on its own, hard on the heart, combined with levamisol, causes an increased strain on your heart, which can be dangerous. But that's not even the worst of it. The most frightening side effect, I think, of consuming cocaine cut with levamisol is something called acute neutropenia. This is a blood disorder that's characterized by the sudden disappearance of certain types of white blood cells that are important for the immune system to function. Acute neutropenia can result in a wide range of problems, not limited to really high fever, getting the chills, infections present all throughout the body, wounds that don't heal, and even painful sores. And again, that's not the worst of it. The worst part of those who find themselves with acute neutropenia through, taking contaminated cocaine is the fact that if these symptoms go left unchecked, you can die. It can kill you. And the reality is not enough research has actually been done to really rule out if, say, taking cocaine that's cut with levamisol once a month is going to ruin your health. We don't know. But what we do know are the many harms that can come from this drug. Many of them have been publicized, in mainstream media. If DrugsLab was indeed a harm reduction channel, they would have never consumed cocaine that was knowingly cut with levamisol. They would probably tell you that, hey, if your cocaine is, laced with this stuff, that's cocaine that you should avoid. But instead, Nelly and both Renz consumed cocaine that was cut with this junk, and they both appeared to have a pleasant, very good time, and what's more problematic is they went as far as to tell the viewer that it's not even a big deal. I really want to pull the gun out and put it to my head again, but I think that joke is just getting really old at this point. In this error, Bastian claims that his LSD tastes very bitter and chemical. Let's run the clip.
Chemisch. Niet lekker.
Nee, ik zie het aan je gezicht. Beetje bitter of zo.
Ja.
Do you guys notice how intense his facial expression was when he noticed the bitter taste? Most people know that LSD should not have a bitter taste. Most people would report that LSD, if anything, is tasteless or it has a slight metallic taste. You might, taste a very, at the most, slight bitterness from the ink if it's a design that is, heavy in ink. However, you're not going to taste a very chemical bitter taste from your LSD tabs. Like say, take a little piece of paper with ink on it, put it on your tongue. You're not gonna make the reaction that Bastien is making, and you're definitely not gonna say that it tastes chemical. So, why did Bastien react so unfavorably if this is in fact LSD? Well, a chemical that is commonly sold disguised as LSD is something called 25I-N-Biomi. All acid heads will tell you the same thing. If you get acid and your tab is bitter, it's a spitter. N-Biomi is very common in many parts of the world, and it is often passed off as LSD. Now, the reason why this is extremely dangerous is because as few as 2 tabs of an N-Biomi substance can kill you, versus with acid, you could take dozens and dozens of tabs and it would be physically safe for your body. Now, what's most concerning with his reaction and how they addressed it is the very simple fact that they never made a note to tell the audience that LSD should not have a bitter taste. They didn't even make mention of how common N-Biomi tabs are sold in disguise as LSD. Instead, all they showed is them talking a bit about how it was bitter, and then they move on as if that's not even a big deal. What this shows a viewer that, say, hasn't done any research, someone who actually takes the show for what it's supposed to be, an educational show, they're gonna watch that, see Bastien go, oh, hey, my tab was bitter. They might notice that their LSD tabs are bitter too. A viewer that's uneducated is going to simply believe that it's normal for LSD to taste bitter, when in reality, virtually all bitter tabs are actually a different compound and not LSD whatsoever, and many of them are very dangerous. And to be totally honest with you guys, considering Bastien just recently consumed DXM containing acetaminophen, which, as I've already said, can kill you, I'd say there's a very good chance that this wasn't LSD at all that he consumed. I'd say there's a very good chance that this was a tab of N-Biomi. I would say there's a very good chance that, unlike many people think, where they think that, oh, they're funded by the government, they must get really pure drugs, I would wager that's not the case. I would wager that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. There really isn't a safe dosage, but you get about 20 lines out of 1 gram.
Er is niet echt een veilige dosis, maar wat wel gebruikelijk is dat er ongeveer 20 lijntjes uit 1 gram wordt gehaald.
What? Here, do you guys see these 2 lines of salt that I have made? I want you to look at these lines and tell me how much of a weight difference in milligrams you think there is between each of them. It's obvious which one is bigger, but how much bigger do you think it is? And also, how many milligrams do you think each of these lines are? Now, I'm aware that being salt, this has a different weight than, say, cocaine. However, for the sake of this example, what did you guys come up with? The answer is the one on the left weighs 1 gram, and the one on the right weighs only 500 milligrams. That's half a gram. Do you guys really think that when someone's getting fucked up off coke, they're going to be able to visually know the difference between the amount of cocaine they are snorting in each line? Do you guys think that telling someone to eyeball your doses and that, oh, hey, you get about 20 lines out of 1 gram is the right thing for a harm reduction channel to tell its viewers? Let's not forget that they also said there isn't a safe dosage and it's fine to take a line once every 30 minutes.
Als je bijneemt, zorg er dan voor dat er minimaal een half uur tussen zit. Veilige dosis?
Are we not talking about fucking drugs here? Of course there is a safe dosage. Its safety can be measured for each line. You can weigh what your doses are, and it should be weighed. If they were in fact a harm reduction channel, they would stress that you shouldn't just eyeball your lines of coke when you're out having fun. They would stress that you should weigh each line prior to taking it. I mean, they told their viewers to weigh out their MDMA, didn't they? Why does cocaine get special treatment, whereas MDMA is treated like a drug should be treated? Now that we've got that section out of the way, let's move on to some of the factual errors that they have just got terribly wrong, or at least let's talk about the ones that have stood out to me the most. Factual error number 1. This is a line that they say in virtually every video.
En in DrugsLab testen wij in de name of science bepaalde drugs uit om te kijken wat het nou met je lichaam doet.
We doen dit in naam van de wetenschap om erachter te komen wat voor effect drugs heeft op het menselijk lichaam.
We do this in the name of science to see how drugs affect the body. Yeah, it's just not true. They do this for entertainment and for views and for recognition. If they actually cared about science, none of the aforementioned problems would be apparent. Factual error number 2. If the effects are unpleasant, take some vitamin C, dextrose, or a sweet drink in order to reduce the effects. This is a line that they say repeatedly throughout different videos that are about psychedelics, and it's simply not true. There is no evidence that something sweet or vitamin C will reduce the effects of psychedelics. They might be getting vitamin C confused with amphetamine. If you consume high amounts of vitamin C, it will actually reduce the effects of amphetamine because it will slow the absorption down of it in your gut. But in regards to psychedelics, there's actually no evidence that vitamin C or anything sweet is going to cause some kind of a pharmacological effect on you and lower your trip. I mean, unless they're just going off placebo here, and that doesn't always work as well as you'd want it to. I spent many years trying to think my hair into growing back, and it never worked. Feeding people this type of misinformation that they can take vitamin C or something sweet to lower a psychedelic trip is dangerous because now you might have people who are thinking, oh, you know what, I'll just, take a higher dose than I'm used to. I've got my vitamin C handy, I've got my sweet drink here, and if the effects become too intense, I'll just drink this and yeah, I'll sober right up. Factual error number 3. The recommended dose is 1 capsule, which contains 150 grams. Wait, excuse me? This is what 150 grams worth of salt looks like. 150 grams is an obvious error. They probably meant to say 150 milligrams, and many people have actually pointed this out. They've asked them to fix it. However, I wanted to include this error because this just goes to show you how little they actually care about presenting factual information. Why on earth would they leave misinformation up there telling people to take 150 grams of something? That's just absolutely ridiculous. Factual error number 4. Basically everything that they said in the herbal ecstasy video. There were so many errors present that I just had a total meltdown. I just totally glitched out watching it. Here, I'm gonna read you guys some quotes. It kicks in just like with real ecstasy. You experience things more intensely and I feel like dancing. This is natural but almost just like real MDMA. I think I might not notice the difference with real ecstasy versus herbal ecstasy. This comes so close. No, just no. The product he took contained caffeine and mucuna pruriens.
Hierin zijn de voornaamste ingrediënten cola-nut, cafeïne en mucuna prurien.
Which contains L-dopa, a precursor to dopamine. L-dopa isn't known to have, euphoric effects. Neither is caffeine necessarily. In fact, L-tyrosine is a precursor to L-dopa, and I take L-tyrosine all the time. It's part of my daily vitamins. You can buy the shit at the vitamin store. You don't feel jack shit. Combining L-dopa with caffeine is not going to give you anywhere near the effects that MDMA can cause. The reason that MDMA feels like MDMA is because it affects the serotonin centers in your brain. Neither caffeine or L-dopa have anything to do with serotonin. They don't even touch those receptors, meaning pharmacologically it would be impossible for the substance he took to feel like real ecstasy. So why does Renz go on and on about how incredible he feels when in reality it's either placebo or he's feeling about the same that I'm gonna feel after I finish this coffee?
Cafeïne werd ik onrustig, dat heb ik nu niet. Ik voel me heel chill.
He's lying. It's just that simple. He is an actor. He is promoting herbal ecstasy above MDMA because for whatever biased reason, the producers of the show thought that it would be good to show people that, hey, you can get just as high on, herbal stuff as with real chemical compounds because they, for some reason, think that herbal means that it's better. All right, there's actually many more errors that I've written down, and Seth has even compiled an entire document that's full of everything that he considers an error, but I think you guys get the point now. I don't want to just keep beating a dead horse. Now, I know I was pretty damn hard on them when pointing out a lot of those errors, but I think it was very necessary. Someone, in this case me, needs to make it absolutely clear that claiming to be an educator who cares about the well-being and safety of youths, or anyone for that matter, taking drugs, who is out there spreading potentially dangerous, unresearched, false information, should be ashamed of themselves. They really should. This is not a fucking joke. This has to be taken seriously. When you are a government-funded show, people think that there are, researchers behind you, that you know what you're talking about. It's just this assumed level of authority that they are abusing. That goes against everything I stand for. This shit needs to fucking change. They cannot continue spreading misinformation, and they cannot continue masquerading around as a harm reduction channel when all they really are is entertainment. If they want to be entertainment, great. They can just call themselves an entertainment show. They can take the drugs and they can drop the whole act of attempting to educate the viewer on, quite honestly, things that they themselves have no fucking clue about. Or they can change and simply start reading things like Wikipedia. Oh my god, so hard to read a Wikipedia page, so that at least they can stop spreading false information. Myself and Seth, we sometimes read, Seth always reads research paper among research paper. He reads more research papers than I could look at without fainting. So some of us actually research the fuck out of these topics, but we're not even asking DrugsLab to do that. I mean, that's way too much for them. I mean, God forbid, me and Seth are just one person each here who actually do a shit ton of research. They're an entire team and they can't even do a 20-second Google search. We're not even asking that. We're just asking that they stop spreading dangerous information. I mean, take the time to sit down, type into Google, what is a safe dose? How to safely take DXM? And then maybe write your script and plan your video around some factual data that can help the people that you're claiming you're trying to help be safe and can actually educate them, instead of spread misinformation which has done nothing and will do nothing but result in greater harm among people who are taking drugs. Anyway, in spite of everything I have just said, I still like their show, and I want to point out again that this is not the host's fault. I do not want anyone to watch this and then go on some witch hunt for the hosts. I'm not saying that you should go easy on them, but I'm just saying that it's not their fault. The fact is, they have not publicly addressed any of the many errors that myself and several others have pointed out. The fact is, instead of taking responsibility when they make a mistake and showing their audience that they actually care about providing safe, accurate information, they choose to ignore all criticism. And when an error sparks a lot of backlash, such as their DXM error, which sparked a Reddit post, which threatens their credibility, they just delete it and pretend it never happened. I really can't understand why this is. I mean, maybe they're too proud to admit when they're at a fault. The thing is, it's no longer about your personal ego when we're talking about drug education. They take this as if it's some kind of a joke, as if it's just a game. It's a very serious matter when these substances have the potential to kill people. It transcends your pride. It transcends your personal ego when the goal is the greater well-being, the greater good of your fellow human. And I also want to let you know that DrugsLab aren't the only ones who are spreading poor information. In the next Everything Wrong With video, I am going to cover a channel that has even more subscribers than DrugsLab. A channel which also has made some mistakes which need rectifying. What channel is bigger than DrugsLab, you may ask? Well, it's one that's actually become a real problem. It's called Psyched Substance. No, this isn't a lie, I'm not joking. I'm actually gonna go through all of my videos and outline any of the big mistakes that I may have made, and I'm going to format it in a similar style as this video. I want it to be made clear that, everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes, and it's important that we all address things that we have said that are potentially wrong. Because again, it's not about ego, it's not about pride, it's simply about ensuring that all the information that is shared is factual, up-to-date, and accurate. If you guys want to help me compile a list of the errors I have made, I'd actually love to hear from you. It would help me a lot if you wanted to help me go through the videos. If any of you guys want to help me go through videos and find mistakes, then I would love it if you emailed me with timestamps. For example, choose a video, and then as you're going through it, write down the timestamp and then put a dash and write what the mistake you believe was. And then you can send me the text over email, and that would actually help me quite a lot because I've got a lot of videos that I need to go through. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Mr. Psych Substance for psychedelic and drug-related content. This is also the part where I always give a big thank you to everyone who is supporting me on Patreon right now. Your pledges help us grow and continue to improve the quality of these videos. If you guys support what I'm doing with this channel, then check out Patreon. Anyway, I hope that this video wasn't too different for a lot of you. I hope that this video wasn't too offensive. This was just, as I've said many times, something that had to be done. Yeah, let me know in the comments section what you liked, what you didn't like about this video. If you think this is a format that I should do again, yeah, let me know. Till next time, take care, guys. Always test your substances, test kit link in description, and I will see you all later. Toodles.